Hi students, today we are going to learn about new chapter 2, Introduction to Euclid Geometry. It is little bit about mathematics history. Let's begin. The word geometry came from the Greek word geo, meaning the earth, and metry, meaning to measure. That means geometry, if you see, it can divided into two words, that is geo and metry. Geo means the earth and metry means to measure. And geometry appears to have originated from need for measuring land. Means it is believed that geometry is originated from for measuring a land. Students, if we go for real life of measuring land and they will take a length, breadth, you see that geometry is connected to measuring land always. So we say geometry is nothing but to measure a land. For example, the Egyptian developed a number of geometric techniques and rules for calculating simple areas and volumes. And this geometry is developed from Egyptian. It is developed from them. A number of geometric techniques and rules calculated simple areas and volumes. And it is also given history in your textbook regarding to Egyptian. What is that means? The river Nile overflowed, it wiped out the boundaries between the adjoining field of different landowners. After such flooding, these boundaries had to be redrawn. For this purpose, the Egyptian developed a geometry. For this purpose, they developed what? Geometry. The knowledge of geometry was also used to them to computing volumes, areas, and constructing pyramids, etc. Again, they continued volume history about the Indian geometry development and many examples of other countries of geometry. Next, a Greek mathematician Thales is credited with giving the first known proof, that the proof is a circle is bisected by its diameter. Students, you already used this theorem and you got the proof of this theorem, that is a circle is bisected by the diameter. Bisected means which give equal parts. How they get equal parts? By the diameter. It was a proof given by Thales. Later, who came is which mathematician is Pythagoras. Pythagoras, you are familiar with Pythagoras theorem, and all he developed the theory of geometry to a certain extent also. This process continued till 300 BC. The familiar Pythagoras theorem is the hypotenuse, the square of hypotenuse is equal to the square of two sides. It was given by Pythagoras, and he continued his process till 300 BC in geometry branch. Students, in this chapter we shall discuss Euclid's approach to geometry and shall try to link it with the present day geometry. Students, Euclid's approach and whatever he available till that day, he summarized all the details and recorded the data. He was only the first to record all the data related to geometry. So that is why his book is very famous and correlated into geometry. So whenever coming to in his book, the book name is Element, and this book is great reference for us to study a geometry or in the branch of mathematics. Whatever Euclid stated in his book, in his ideas only, he summarized what is available till that day. And what is his book name is Element. It is called a Element. It contains 13 chapters and each chapter name given book only. Each chapter name is book only. That is book first, book second, book third, till book 13 he has written, and his book name is Element. Let's move next topic, that is Euclid's definition. Euclid has listed 23 definition in book first of the elements. A few are listed. Book first nothing but here chapter first in a element book. Dear students, this all definition according to his ideas only. He has written in that day whatever it is available, and he summarized all this definition and he written in the book. Let's see the first point. A point is that which has no part. According to him, a point has no part. Means a point means a dot. A dot has no part. Next, a line is a breadthless length. A line is a breadthless length. What we can see, when we have a line, we will not tell breadth of the line, we will tell the length of the line. So there is no measurement of the breadth, and it is a single dimension. A line is a single dimension. It has no breadth, it has only length. So we call line is a single dimension. Next point, it is the ends of line are points. We know that when we are making a line, when we are making joint point to point, yes, point to point only, so that line ends with what? End points. Line with ends with the point. See, this is a line, it is ended with the point. It is a line, it is ended with the point. The next point, it is a straight line is a line which lies evenly with the points on itself. According to the line idea, we know that point to point we join. Point to point we join and complete the lines. Point to point, this we join point to point and complete the line, right? So when the straight line means it lies within the points only. It lies within the points. So straight line is a line which lies evenly points on itself. It lies within the points. Good. Next, surface. Surface is nothing but which has a length and breadth. The next point is about surface. Surface we know that which have length and breadth. See, this paper is a example for surface for which has length and breadth. That is two-dimensional figure. Paper is about two-dimensional figure because it contains length and breadth. Yes. So why we are taking surface? When we take that plane surface, take a triangle or plane surface which has length and breadth. The surface has length and breadth. The next, it is the edges of surface are lines. Surface are lines. Means when we see the plane surface, it is ended with what? Lines. These ended lines we call what? Edges. What we call? Edges. The edges are surface are lines. These lines are we call as edges. Edges. Next, a plane surface is a surface which lies evenly with the straight lines on itself. A plane surface is a surface. Means, see, when I take this paper, it has how it is ended with the length and breadth evenly with the straight. So a plane surface is a surface which lies evenly with the straight lines. When I take quadrilateral, it is ended with the straight lines only. So plane surface always end with the straight lines itself. When I take parallelogram, square, rectangle, these are all plane surfaces end with the straight lines. These are the points we are used today in mathematics, but he already explained in that time only in his book. These are the few definition we use this definition to solve mathematics problems in the geometry. Students, if we go carefully go through these points, a point which has no point, we can say that something has to be explained here, because a point means dot. A dot has some dimension. Some dimension means it occupies some area. Yes, we can say that area. Dimension is area here. It requires some area. For example, see here, I kept a paper on the table. Means it occupies some space. Like this, a dot, when we keep a dot, it occupies what? Area. But here, what the dot? The area has no part. It has no dimension is to. Means it requires, a point requires some area. The point is to be explained, area is to be explained. If point is to be explained, it has area. Means it area should be explained. So that line is to be explained, area again, area is to be explained. Why? Because a line is made up of points, adjoining of points. Yes. So like that, if we carefully go through these statements, we can say many terms have to be explained for getting full idea of that statements. So in the today's mathematics, the mathematician has considered that agreed that may be some geometrical terms which are undefined, like point is undefined, a line is undefined, a plane surface is undefined. Yes, these are the undefined terms in mathematics. Students, so that we have told that undefined terms. That's why whatever we see that points, a line and a plane has considered as a undefined terms. In today's geometry, so when a branch will start, there are undefined terms which are unable to explain for starting some basic concepts. In geometry, we are taking that these three concepts, that is line, point and plane surface. These three are undefined terms. Students, next Euclid's axioms and postulate. Euclid assumed certain properties which are actually obvious universal truth and divided them into two types. Here postulates and axioms, and these are universal truth. There is no proof for this. We should obey because they are universal truths. These are important words that are axioms and postulates. That means axioms and postulates are two concepts which are universal truths. You already knowledge of this one. We using them by proving theorem and definition. He continued his idea with many properties. He cannot be proved that can be considered as a universal truth. He divided universal truth into two parts. Which are they? They are axioms and postulates. Students, here postulates are restricted to the geometry. Means these assumptions, these are both are assumption. Yes, postulates and axioms are universal truths, means they are assumption, and postulates are restricted to geometry branch only geometric branch. In mathematics there are many branches. There are arithmetic, algebra and geometry. These are branch of mathematics, but postulate are restricted only geometry. This assumption is only proved in geometry only. And next, axioms. Axioms again assumption, but axioms are used in any other branch of mathematics. Any other branch of mathematics. They are not specifically linked to the geometry. They are not restrictedly linked to the geometry. They are axioms are used in a different branch of mathematics. Got? Postulates are restricted only to geometry, and axioms are linked with any branch of mathematics. These are assumptions. These are universal truth in mathematics and geometry. I will give example for axioms and postulates. Firstly, you should realize that axioms and postulates are assumption. They are assumption only. There is no need of proof. Without proof, we can accept that axioms are used anywhere, but postulates are used specifically in geometry only. Now let us see example for axioms. These Euclid axioms are applied already in mathematics. We will go through by one. First axiom it is things which are equal to same thing are equal to one another. That is, example, A equal to C. If A equal to C and B equal to C, then A equal to B. That means here A and B both are equal to what? C. Then A equals to what? B. That means A equals to B. Or A equals to B and C equals to B and A equals to C. Here A and B are equals to what here? B. So A and C are equal to each other. The things which are equal to same thing. Here same thing what? A and C are equals to both B only. Things are equal to one another. So A and C are equals to each other here. Now listen next point. If equals are added to equals, the whole are equal. Take an example that if A equals to B and C equals to D, then A plus C equals to B plus D. Also A equals to B, that implies A plus C equals to B plus D. Let's take 3 equals to 3. Yes, and equals are added to equals. Then when I add 5 plus 5 and plus 5 to LHS and RHS, we get both 8 equals to 8. Means if equals are added to equals, the whole are equal. The whole are equal to each other. Same thing it is applied to the subtraction. That is 5 equals to 5. When I take equals, that is minus 3 in LHS part and minus 3 in RHS part, that 2 equals to 2. See, whole thing is equals to each other. The next it is things which are coincide with one another are equal to one another. We know that the principle of superposition. That is the triangle, that similar triangles, and these two triangles are equals to. In a triangle, when this triangle is bisect equally, we say that ABC equals to the DBC. Means this line is coincided this triangle, so triangle ABC equals to triangle DBC. And this is the example for this axiom. The next it is the whole is greater than a part. The whole is greater than a part. Students, you already learned this statement in fraction. See, when I write this like 1/4, means the whole is greater than the part. The whole is always greater than the part. Then if A is greater than B, then there exists a C such that A equal to B plus C. Means when I take A is equal to 6, B is equal to 4, is equal to 2. Means it is below. B will be less than A, C also less than A. So we say the whole is greater than the part. Next it is things which are double of the same things are equal to one another. Means if things are equals to same thing, this A, if A is equal to B, if I double to A, automatically to B also double. Why? Because already we have told that A equals to B. If 2 equals to 2 and we double it, again we get 2 into 2 and they are equals to each other. Yes, the things are halves of the same things are equals to the one another. Here first they are double, next the thing he told halves means half. If A equals to B, the condition is A equals to B. If I cut A in half portion, B also automatically cut in half portion, and this is the example for this axiom. Now let's learn about Euclid's 5 postulates. Postulates are restricted only to geometry part. That postulate, first it refers, what it tells, a straight line may be drawn from any one point to any other point. Means what it means, a straight line may be drawn from one point to another point. Students, if you take one point, we can draw many lines. See, if with one point we can draw many straight lines. See, many infinite straight lines we can draw. But today's mathematics, it is considered as axioms. Postulates first, it is considered as axiom. When we take 2 points, it should pass us through 2 points. We get only one line. When it passes through the 2 points, we get only one line. With 1 point we get many lines, yes, but with 2 points we get only one straight line. This is about postulate first, but postulate first in today's mathematics is considered as a axiom. Next, a terminated line can be produced indefinitely. A terminated line can be produced indefinitely. Means a terminated line means, in nowadays we are using line segment. Line segment is nothing but terminated line. Terminated line means which is ended with the 2 points. When we produce this, it goes indefinitely. This postulate refers a line segment can be produced. Yes, terminated means line segment, ended points. The line is ended with the points, and it has produced indefinitely. Next, a circle can be drawn with any center and any radius. A circle can be drawn with any center and any radius. Means we can draw 3 centimeter, or we can also draw 5 centimeter radius. Yes, 5 centimeter, 3 centimeter, any center of radius. Next postulate is all right angles are equal to one another. Right angle is nothing but 90 degree. All right angles are equals to one another, means all will be a same degree, that is 90 degree. Next postulate it is fifth, that is, if a straight line falling on a 2 straight lines makes an interior angles on the same side of it taken together less than two right angles, then 2 straight lines it is produced indefinitely meet on the side on which the sum of angles is less than 2 right angles. Means what it is saying, if a straight line falling 2 straight lines, means if 2 straight lines, this is a straight lines, yes, this will be a straight line. Here we makes an interior. This is a straight line and this is a straight line, and another statement fall on this 2 straight line. Take it as L, and this line take it as M, and this is as a N. When fall on these 2 straight lines, we get what? Interior angles. Makes an interior angles. These are the interior angles, and this angles will always less than right angles, less than right angles. When it will be less than? When they meet at a certain point. Means if it meet, it will be the less than. These two angles are less than what? Right angle. If they meet at a one point. Means what? If we produce indefinite, means when it is meet at a one point, these two angles will be, take it is a, this B, it will be less than right angles. Got? About this is about postulate 5. If their lines are parallel, what about it? It never meet, means it will always greater than right angles, because parallel lines never meet. If they meet, it will be less than right angles. If they do not meet, it is greater than right angle. Means parallel lines never meet. In this entire conclusion is parallel lines never meet, and if they meet, they are not a parallel lines. Got? This is about postulate 5th. So in our conclusion, what I want to say that Euclid enters history as one of the greatest of all mathematicians, and he is often referred to as the father of geometry. The standard geometry most of us learned in a school is called Euclidean geometry. He is considered as a father of geometry. Euclid has considered father of geometry. He is from Egypt. Because most of his ideas only we apply in our daily life of geometry branch, right? So today's class I am ending with this concept. Thank you.